Welcome to the Mindset Architect Podcast, where it's all about creating the life you want, the business you want, and making a real difference. Join us in unlocking the code to true success. And now your host, Tony Caliendo, Master Coach with Rethink Coaching.
Hello and welcome to the Mindset Architect Podcast, episode number 4. My name's Tony Caliendo, Master Coach here at Rethink Coaching. And today I want to talk to you about the topic of resistance. And so I want you to just think about this for a minute. You know, we've had lots of changes. In fact, we always have a lot of changes. So economic things have changed, real estate sales market has changed, life has changed for a lot of us post-pandemic. We always have and always will be experiencing change because we are human beings. We are not static. We're constantly evolving and moving and experiencing different things. And if you have the privilege of being alive long enough, you're going to realize that it's always like that. Now, here's what is important though. As change happens, some of us, or sometimes, depending on the change that is going on, we might slip into a phase or a place of resistance. And so what do I mean by that? So I want you to think about resistance as a natural reaction to change. It just is, right? A lot of us resist change. We do not like things being different because it takes us out of our safety zone, our natural or our normal, and it can create some resistance. So my definition of resistance is when you know on a conscious or an unconscious level that if you did something different, even though it may not be familiar or uncomfortable, it would make a difference for you. It would make a difference in your business or your life in terms of moving you forward or leaving you stagnant or possibly moving backward. Resistance is the real deal. Now, in a weird way, I love resistance because it's a huge flashing neon light that is telling you you're resisting to change or to adapt, and that it is an opportunity or an area that if you embraced it or dug into it may actually lead you to incredible breakthroughs and success. So I've said this analogy before, and I want you to think about this. When we resist doing something, when we are pushing back, a lot of times what we're doing is we're no longer moving forward with momentum. We've slowed down or we've switched and slipped into neutral. So I use this all the time. If you are driving in your car and you move the gear selector from drive to neutral, which is a lot of times what we do when we resist change, we slip into this phase of neutral, we eventually run out of momentum. So the car eventually stops moving forward. And it can actually start to slide backward because we've taken our foot off of the gas or we've moved into a mode of resisting doing something different. So that could be what's going on in your life. So I'm going to ask you, where might you be experiencing resistance? And you might have a hard time coming up with it. And if you're somebody who is not experiencing resistance, that is an amazing thought. And I promise you somewhere, there is something that you're resisting doing. So what I feel about resistance and what I think is important for you to realize, if you're uncertain, am I experiencing resistance? Am I one of those people who's resisting doing something different? I want you to ask yourself one really important question. Where in my business or my life, depending on what you are working on with us, where in my business or my life am I playing not to lose? Playing it safe. Where am I playing not to lose? Because that is typically where we're experiencing resistance. And let me explain this a little bit. You're either playing to win or you're playing not to lose, right? When we experience resistance, a lot of times we move into this playing not to lose category of our mindset. And it's because we choose to move into a phase or state of protect. We do not want to take risk. We're going to hold on to what we got. We're going to hope that things go back to the way they were and I can just keep doing what I've always done and magically I'll move from playing not to lose to playing to win. When the reality of it is, when you move into a playing not to lose mindset or space, you've moved the gear selector from drive to neutral. That is exactly what you've done. And you can stay in that space for a little while. Remember, the car will continue to move forward for a little while. Eventually, though, you're either going to stop or go backward. And that is where you risk playing not to lose, losing. If you stay and play not to lose long enough, sadly, you will lose unless you make the decision to do something different. So where in your business or your life are you making the decision to kind of dig your heels in and refusing to do something different or refusing to embrace change? I want you to think about that for a little bit, because you have the choice to move out of that phase and move into a playing to win mindset. Now, mind you, when you move to playing to win, you don't always win immediately. Remember in a previous podcast where we talked about the compound effect, the little ones wins equal to big wins. This is the same thing. When you move from playing not to lose into playing to win, it's not going to be an immediate boom, I won. However, the little wins are going to start moving you forward. So think about, where in my life or my business am I playing not to lose? So we have the privilege of coaching clients from across the country. A good portion of our clients are real estate agents. And when I hear a client say, I'm not doing that, I refuse to do that because I used to do that when I first started in real estate 20 years ago, and I'm just not doing it. I've moved beyond that. That's resistance. Or I'm just going to keep doing what I've always done because it's always worked. And when the market changes, I'll be okay. That's resistance. Or some of the clients that we're working at to have a healthier life. I don't need to go to the gym 3 days a week. I'm focused on my cardio health, right? That's a form of resistance. Pushing back on what you know if you did would make a difference, would move you forward. Now, why does this work like this? Why do we move into a place of resistance? I will tell you, some of it's not your fault. Some of it is this great thing called a brain that wants to protect us. And so your brain thinks and sees change as a threat. Okay, so any change, anything different from what we've always done, the brain's going to perceive as a threat or a danger. And it's going to do its darndest to convince you not to do something different, really convincing you to resist change. So love it or hate it, that's just how the brain works. Now, you get to make a choice. What am I going to do differently? Because think about this. The market, whatever is going on that your brain's trying to say, hey, don't do that, let's resist that, is really an external circumstance. So think about, if you're a real estate agent, the market's changed, right? We have a lot of different factors. The market's changed. That is an external circumstance. And then we have a thought, and we give that external circumstance power through our thought. It creates a feeling or emotion, and then it creates the action of resistance. That's just how it works. And then, of course, the actions that you take or don't take impact the results that you get or you don't get. And so when you think about resistance, it's an action. You're taking action and not doing something different. And we know, because of the model that we've talked about, your action is created by your emotion or your feeling, which is created by the thought. So here's what I'd invite you to do. Do not give it power. For real estate agents, it's a market. That's it. It's just a market. We bring it to life and give it a definition, make it be a bad market, a hard market, a challenging market. Nobody's doing anything market, which triggers not a positive thought. And then it triggers an emotion or a feeling reaction to it that's really probably not a positive one, and then creates a space of resistance. That's all that's going on. That's what's happening when you are resisting something. Your brain is triggering a protect mode, and it's created a thought. Remember what I said thoughts are. They're just a story. Brain's doing a great job of creating a story, which is now defining or creating an emotion or a feeling, which is impacting you in your action of resistance. So I'm going to ask you something. Once you dig in and you realize that you are resisting something, you have a choice to make. You get to decide. Do I stay in the place of resistance, which is playing not to lose, risking it all? Or do I make a decision to regain control and move into a playing to win mode, playing to win mindset? It really is just a decision. And it goes back to the thought you're having. What was the thought that your story, your little brain created for you, that is creating the resistance. Because remember, everything starts with a thought. And that thought is giving power to everything else. So you have a choice to make. I can continue to resist the change. And remember what I said at the beginning of this podcast. We're human beings. We're not static. We're constantly evolving, constantly moving, constantly dealing with different external circumstances until you take your last breath. That's going to be the way the world is. You're going to be constantly exposed to change. Now, it's what you do with it that makes a difference. So if you're like me, take a moment and embrace and thank resistance, because it is shining the light, the brightest light possible, on the things that you could do, or what you know if you did differently would move you forward. That's the cool thing about our brain. It might be trying to protect you, but there's another part of our evolved brain that's like, if I really think about it, what I'm resisting is probably the one thing that I need to do that if I did it would put the gear selector back in drive and I'd start moving forward again. But I'm not comfortable with change, so I'm just going to kind of hang out. This is where you get to learn. So sit with this. It's really important. Sit with, where am I playing not to lose? Ask yourself that question and dig deep in your business and in your life. Where are you playing not to lose? And then you decide. And this is what I'm going to ask you to do. Make a decision that over the next 60 days, you're going to embrace whatever you're resisting and put a strategy together to embrace it and do something different. It can be something little. It could be 2 small things that you choose to do that within time, over 60 days, will make the biggest difference in your business or your life. Remember, the little wins equal the big wins. It's amazing what you can accomplish in 60 short days, and it really keeps you motivated. And I say, set a goal for 365 days from now, and then you'll experience a win. No, let's look at what could we do over the next 60 days to anything that I am resisting that could make a difference and an impact and create a win. And remember, the little wins equal the big wins. The little losses equal the big losses. When you're playing not to lose, you're experiencing little losses. And those little losses are going to add up to a big loss. So make a decision. What am I going to do today that moves me into a playing to win space? And remember, just because we make a decision to do 1 or 2 things different over the next 60 days does not mean I'm going to experience my goal or the massive change today. Just the fact that I made a decision is a win. Just the fact that I put together a plan for 60 days is a win. The fact that I'm going to do 2 things differently each day for the next 60 days is a win. And every day that you do what you committed to do is a win. And those will all add up to a big win at the end of 60 days. It's really that simple. So my friends, I'm going to ask you to really take some time with this, because I believe we coach across the country and we have a lot of conversations with people. I believe that we are all experiencing a smidge of resistance because we've experienced massive change in a short amount of time. Massive change in a short amount of time. And it's generated a feeling of resistance that we may or may not be aware of. So create the awareness. You get to choose. This is what I love about learning about the power of thoughts and the power of resistance. Take some time, do the exercise, do the work. If you have any questions, just drop it in the comments. We are more than happy to help you or answer any questions. You can always reach out to us directly at Rethink Coaching. Our information is listed for you. So feel free, if you really need some clarity on this, to reach out to one of us. Do us a favor, like the podcast. If you learned something, make a comment about what you learned today. And mostly, if you know someone that would benefit from listening to this, we ask that you just share the podcast with them. I'm excited to hear from some of you and tell me about what your breakthrough was today based around resistance. And we're always here to support you. We will see you in a week, my friends. Go embrace resistance and learn the lesson. Take care. We'll talk to you soon. If you enjoyed listening to this podcast, you must come check out the Mindset Architect Group Coaching Program. It's our monthly program where we explore the power of your mindset, help you identify what you truly want in business and life, and then help you reach those goals. Come check us out at rethinkcoaching.com/group-program. That's rethinkcoaching.com/group-program. We'll see you there.